Hi semua. Now we will go into the topic of cell structure and functions, and we will start off with this particular part about the prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. But before we talk about those types of cells, let's discuss a little bit about the cell theory. There are several principles under the cell theory, and the principle number one is that all organisms, every organisms, will be made up of cells, either one cell only or maybe many more. If you look at this particular paramecium, this particular organism consists of only one cell, and that is why we call the paramecium as a type of unicellular organism. But if we look at the humans, we should know that the humans will be a type of multicellular organism. Why? Because our body consists of many cells, and we can see here that there are so many different types of cells that make up our body. The second principle for the cell theory is that every new cells will be produced from pre-existing cells. So if you refer to this particular diagram, we can see that these two new cells actually comes from one particular cell. This involves the process of mitosis, and another type of cell division will be the process of meiosis. And the principle number 3, the cell theory stated that cell is the structural and the functional unit of all living things. When we say that cells is considered as the structural unit, means that cell will be the one that will be building part of the body. And when we say that the cell is the functional unit, that means that the cell is the factor that causes part of the body to be able to function. For example, if you look at the muscle, we can see here that the muscle tissue is actually consists of muscle cells. And so we say that the muscle cells will be the structural unit that builds this particular tissue. And the muscle can also function to contract or relax. This is due to the characteristic of the muscle cells itself. Now let's move on to the types of cells. There are many types of cells actually, but we need to focus first on the main types of cells. So the first main type of cell will be the prokaryotic cell. Generally, this will be referring to cells that do not have any true nucleus. Example will be the bacteria. And the second main type of cell will be the eukaryotic cell. This usually refers to cells with true nucleus. Examples will be the plant cells over here and also the animal cell over here. Now let's look at the structure of the prokaryotic cell first. As I have told you just now, the main characteristic of all prokaryotic cells will be that they do not have any true nucleus. They have their DNA, but the DNA lies freely in a nucleoid region like this. So as you can see, there is no any nuclear membrane that surrounds the DNA of this prokaryotic cell. And the DNA is circular. Circular means it is not linear. There is no ends of this particular DNA of the prokaryotic cell. And the DNA of the prokaryotes do not have any histone proteins. What will be the other things that we need to know about the prokaryotes? They do not have any membrane-bound organelles. So the prokaryotes do not have any mitochondria, they do not have any Golgi body, they do not have any endoplasmic reticulum and whatsoever. Okay. However, they have ribosomes. If you look at this particular diagram, there will be many ribosomes scattered within the cytoplasm of this prokaryote. Ribosome is an organelle, but the ribosome is not membrane bounded. And one particular thing about the ribosomes of the prokaryote is that they have these ribosomes that are called as the 70S ribosomes, which are very small in size. And the prokaryotes will have cell wall surrounding the plasma membrane. And the unique thing about the cell wall of the prokaryotic cell is that they consist of a substance known as the peptidoglycan. And sometimes the prokaryotic cell will have this flagellum. The flagellum of the prokaryote is different from the flagellum of the eukaryotic cell. Why? Because the flagellum of the prokaryotes will be considered as a simple type, meaning that they do not have any microtubules within the flagellum. We need to differentiate between the structure of the prokaryotic cell with the structure of the eukaryotic cell. And so, let's now move on to the structure of the eukaryotic cell. This will be the main characteristic about the eukaryotic cell. As I have mentioned earlier, they will be having a true nucleus over here, in which the DNA will be inside the nuclear membrane. And what else that we can say about the DNA? Their DNA will be in linear form, not circular. And the DNA will be having histone proteins, which will make the DNA of the eukaryotic cell become very compact. And the eukaryotic cell will be having membrane-bound organelles. So as you can see in this particular diagram, the eukaryotes will be having the ER, the endoplasmic reticulum, the smooth ER and the rough ER, the Golgi body over here, mitochondria, and lysosome, and a lot more. Okay, so this is very different from the prokaryotic cells. And the ribosome will also be different. Why? Because the ribosome of the eukaryotic cell will be larger if we compare with the ribosomes of the prokaryotic cell. And the ribosome will be having a special name in which we call them as the ATS ribosomes. Some of the eukaryotic cell will be having a cell wall. Maybe not this one, because this is maybe an animal cell. But if we are looking at the plant cell, then the cell wall will consist of a substance known as the cellulose. Meanwhile, if we look at another type of a eukaryotic cell, maybe the cell of the fungi, then the cell wall will consist of chitin. And some of the eukaryotic cell will be having flagella, and the flagella will be different from the flagellum of the prokaryotic cell because the flagella of the eukaryotic cell will be a complex type of flagella, in which the flagella will be consisting of microtubules, usually in the pattern of 9+2. And so hopefully you can differentiate between the prokaryotes and the eukaryotes after this. Besides talking about the differences of the prokaryotic cell and the eukaryotic cell, maybe we should also try to differentiate these two types of eukaryotic cells, which will be the plant cell over here and the animal cell. So both of these eukaryotic cells have got some differences. For example, in the plant cell, there should be this cell wall. Meanwhile, for animal cell, they do not have any cell wall. the outermost layer will be the plasma membrane. And another thing about the plant cell is that they will be having this chloroplast. Generally, plant cell will be having this chloroplast for the process of photosynthesis, but there will be no chloroplast in the animal cell. Apart from that, there will be having vacuole. Normally we call it as the large central vacuole in the plant cell. But for the animal cell, there will be no large vacuole inside them. Maybe they will be having small vesicles. If we look at the animal cell, there will be this lysosome that is involved in the process of intracellular digestion. Lysosome is not found in the plant cell. And another difference will be about the centrioles over here. Okay, this is the region known as the centrosome, and these two things that you can see here is also known as the centrioles. The centrioles can only be found in the animal cell, but not in the plant cell. And so we can see that there are several differences between the structure of the plant cell and also the animal cell. But there are also many similarities. For example, both plant cell and animal cell will be having the Golgi apparatus. Both of them will be having ribosomes. Both of them will be having the nucleus, the ER, the mitochondrion, and so on. Okay, and that's all about the prokaryotic and the eukaryotic cells. And I see you guys later in some other lesson. Bye bye.